Hi everyone, it's Uncle Jimmy here, your favorite uncle in the online entrepreneur space. And today we are doing our Q&A and we're doing our Talkback Radio. Uncle Jimmy is here to help. And today we are going to be talking about mindset. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Jimmy. Everyone calls me Uncle Jimmy. And I've been deriving my income online for the last 10 years. And I'm also a service delivery coach over at Charlie Morgan's course and helped over 800 SMA owners deliver amazing services and keep clients forever. But that's not why you're here. You're here to get the absolute knowledge bombs from Uncle Jimmy. And we have several questions coming today. And if you'd like me to answer your question, what you need to do is go into the school group that we have. It's free. Every week you'll see a pinned post and we talk about a topic each week. You go in there, you leave your question, and the best ones make it onto the show. But before we do that, let's ask the question of the week. So the question of the week is, what is the best quote you've heard when it comes to mindset? Make sure to leave your answer as a comment, and the best one will be read out in the next episode. So without further ado, let's get straight into the questions. We've got the first question here.
Jimmy, it's Jordan. Jordan Unger, to be specific. You've already talked to me a couple of times over whether it's Easy Grow or your Service Delivery Kings group. But my question is, what's the best way to build relationships with clients so that they still like you and you get along, but you also help them take accountability for not putting in the work when it's required? The reason I ask that question is because I'm really good at getting clients to like me, like conflict avoidant, but sometimes they don't put in the work and I can't just be really direct because it's going to piss them off. So like, how do you build a relationship where they respect you, they put in the work, and you just have like a balance, if you know what I mean? So that I can, I guess, inevitably prevent clients staying 3 to 4 months and then just leaving out of nowhere, not knowing why, when we were really nice to each other, but they just weren't satisfied with results, partially because they didn't put in the work as well, obviously. I want to make sure that I'm holding them accountable, but not being direct and, pissing them off, going about that way.
All right, so this is a fantastic question, Jordan. Thank you so much for submitting it. I talk about this a lot, how you need to be the trusted partner of your client. You need to build rapport and you need to build a relationship, because if you have a relationship with your clients, then you're going to have a defensible wall around your client that will make it harder for others who are trying to commoditize what you do to take over, because people put different values on relationships, right? So like I see it a lot. People try and poach my clients all the time, but it's very hard for them to do that when I have a relationship with my clients and they put a lot of value on that, is what I'm trying to get at. Now, there is a fine line between being a friend of a client and a simp. You need to make sure that when you're dealing with clients, that they know the boundaries and they know the different hats that you wear, right? So I explicitly do this. So I have my sales hat, I have my marketing hat, and I have my mate hat on, right? And sometimes I even say this to the client. So when I put on a different hat, they know that something else is coming. So like when we're doing just general chit chat, whatever, nothing happens. When I'm putting my marketing hat on, I tell my client, all right, the marketing hat's going on, guys. We need to start doing this. We need to make sure that we start sending these emails out, start sending these replies out, start chasing these people up. Then with sales, it's like, hey guys, the sales hat's going on. I've got this new service. I want to show you guys. It's going to be really good for you. I think you can balance. I think there is a way of being a friend of a client while still being able to have those tough conversations with them. It's like any friendship. A good friendship, if you have really good friends, they're going to tell you the positives and the negatives. And they're not going to be afraid to call you out when you're talking BS. But they're also going to support and uplift you. That's where you need to get. Acquaintances don't say anything negative about you. So if you have acquaintances, they're going to be nice in public and they're going to, you're going to have good banter and stuff with them, but they're not going to say anything negative. You need to understand that a good relationship, a healthy relationship, has positives and negatives attached to it and will allow you to be able to do that. So Jordan, if I was in your situation, I would just be focusing less on whether the client likes me or not and more on like, is this in their best interest to know? If it is, I need to put that hat on and tell them what they need to know, because not only will it help in regards to like, wow, this guy's willing to tell me the truth, willing to like lay it on the line and risk our friendship to make sure I understand what's going on, but they'll also respect you, because the thing is, if a client just leaves out of the blue, a lot of that is just a lack of respect. And that lack of respect comes from like it being a one-way relationship and not being a two-way relationship. So maybe you're putting a lot of effort into building a friendship with them, but they're not reciprocating. It's maybe because they don't respect you. So I would definitely do that. I would definitely focus on like if you don't feel comfortable doing it, just remember that ultimately it's in their best interests. The same way if you had a best friend and they were dating some chick that you didn't think was good for them, you would tell them because it's in their best interest and you care about them. That's what you do it. You frame it out. Say, that's the way you frame it too. It's, hey, look, I genuinely care about whether we get success or not, but you really need to be following up with these guys. Otherwise, we're not going to get the results. Everything you say it comes down to how you say it, not necessarily what you say. So, as long as it's framed in their best interest, that's all you can do. If they get upset, they get upset. They're business people. They're going to live with that. But it's better to tell them that stuff than not to tell them. So that's what I sort of do. If I have bad news, I put on my marketing hat, and go, all right, it's coming, guys. We need to have a chat about this because I genuinely care about our success and what we're doing here. And, we're not going to achieve it if you don't put in the effort, or if you don't start doing the replies. Is there anything I can do to help? And you'll find that if you start doing that, if you start pushing back a little bit more, if you start making it a two-way conversation, if you start, not just being simping all the time and like really like getting their best interests at heart, for lack of a better term, you'll find that they'll start to reciprocate, and you will get this like good conversation flow and good rapport with your client that becomes the defensible asset. So hopefully that helps, Jordan. Like I said, if you guys have a question, make sure to join the school group, leave the question in there. It can be about anything, but we try and stick to a topic each week. So great question, Jordan. Let's go to the next question.
Hey Jimmy, it's Giovanni here, and my question to you is, before you started your SMA journey and you were, when you were in the army and stuff, or in the Marines, did you have the mindset? Or did you develop that mindset as you work towards building your business and SMMA? And also, how did you build, what were the core foundations of building your mindset? Did you do affirmations every morning, or did you look at a vision board, or what did you do?
Yeah, this is actually a great question, Giovanni, because it's something I see a lot and people misinterpret. So affirmations and motivation and mindset is miscued a lot of time. There's too much weight put onto affirmations and vision boards and not enough weight put into discipline. Okay, the most successful people in this space, they may not be the most motivated. They may not have a vision board. They may not have, because I didn't. They may not have that stuff. They're the most disciplined, right? So the one thing the Navy taught me was discipline. Okay, so when you're in the Navy, right, you get up at 6 a.m, you go to work. If you don't go to work, there's no such thing as a sick day. If you don't go to work, you get in trouble, right? If you don't relieve the person who's you're taking over from, they're missing out on time with their family. They're missing out on time with their kids. So you learn that other people rely on you doing your actions. And that is what's driven me the whole time. I mean, I have a vision for my life. Don't get me wrong, but it's not on a vision board. There's no Rolex on there. There's no Lamborghini and stuff like that. What I've sort of said from day one is that if I do the right actions consistently, day in, day out, I will make the money. I will end up living the life I want, right? Because at the time, it's impossible to know what that life is. You're a young dude, Giovanni. So right now, your vision board might have a Bugatti on it. It might have Charlie Morgan, say, for instance. I see a lot of that Charlie Morgan on vision boards. But who knows? In 3 years, you might find you might get a missus, you might have kids, and all of a sudden that vision board is completely different. I just found that if you peel back what a vision board does, and if you peel back what affirmations do, it just helps to instill discipline, right? And I think that is what's missing, and that is why a lot of people they flounder, is because they just don't have the discipline. So if I was to give any person advice in regards to what I did to be successful, because look, I've done a pretty good job in the space, is discipline. Make sure that you have self-discipline. If you have self-discipline and then you do things that have a positive expectation over a long enough period of time, you will win. It's inevitable. And then also too, for every person out there that's got the discipline and has got the drive and has really honed in their discipline and is getting up in the morning at the same time, getting the job done, finishing at the same time, putting in solid work, positive expectations, there's about 50 people with vision boards on their walls that aren't achieving anything. Now, if those people looked less at the vision board and looked more at themselves and said, am I really disciplined enough to succeed in the online space? Or do I need to have a job where someone is filling in that gap of discipline? Then there'd be a lot more people succeeding, because once you realize that has a profound effect on your outcomes. There's a lot of people out there that need jobs, and they need jobs because they need someone else to tell them what to do. When you're working for yourself, you need to have a certain amount of discipline because you don't have anyone telling you what to do except for the man upstairs. So I think that's the single most valuable thing that character trait I have when it comes to mindset, is that I have a discipline that very few people in this space have. And a lot of that was taught to me by the Navy. Now you can teach that yourself, and it comes down to being honest with yourself and doing the things that you say you're going to do, and to yourself first. A lot of you guys, if I was to tell you you need to go and do this, you would go off and do it because you're accountable to me. You need to learn to be accountable to yourself. And that's something that I need to talk about in a future video, but that accountability to yourself is way more important than a vision board. It's way more important than affirmations in the morning. Because yes, your mindset is important, but if you think about the mindset as in a human body as the brain, the arms, the legs, the muscles, the skeleton is your discipline. So what I'm trying to say is that discipline is the single biggest mindset hack you should be focusing on, and then worry about all the other stuff around it after the fact. Great question though, Giovanni. I really appreciate you sending that through. Let's go to the next question here, which is this one here.
So just submitting this question for your Mindset Week questions that you're taking. To give you the quick context, my name's Tom. I'm an agency owner based in Brisbane, Australia. And I work strictly with auto detailing businesses to help them grow their business and get more detailing and ceramic coating jobs on their calendar. Now, when it comes to mindset, my question is, it does sound quite broad and quite generic, but how do you stay motivated on a day-to-day basis? The reason that's my question is because right now I find that I might get some success. I have a good couple of days when it comes to sales, get some new clients on, and then my mind gets directed to all the work and all the fulfillment work that I'm going to have to put effort into. I'm no longer putting effort into new sales as well. And then I'm 2 weeks, 3 weeks later finding that I'm not hitting the numbers for the agency that I want to be hitting. Part of it might as well be some sort of organizational issue as well. So I guess one of those things that you might use, whether that's in your mornings, evenings, even during the day, to make sure that your output, your productivity is still high. And then also, I guess you're hitting certain targets, and also how you even, track those targets and stay organized. So my question is, any tools, any mindset hacks that you might use to make sure that day after day, you're leaving it all out there and you're growing the business?
Yeah, excellent question, Tom. I'm going to break this down into two parts: motivation, and then the tools and the things that I use to stay disciplined and motivated. Okay, so the way I keep motivated is quite simple. People have a very, very weird understanding of how motivation works, right? Most people say they're motivated by money, but actually they're not. If you're motivated by competition or money, eventually you'll catch up to where you need to go, and that motivation disappears. And a lot of that's got to do with your upbringing. A lot of that's got to do where you set that thermometer. So for some of you guys, your motivation is to earn a single dollar online. And as soon as you hit that, you lose that motivation. Your motivation and your why, it needs to be a why that's way more visceral and way more primal than like just money or just competition, right? So let's talk about my whys. My why and the motivation and what keeps me going is that I was bullied so much as a kid that it's affected every part of my life. It's made me a better person, in my opinion, but it's affected every part of my life. The big thing was I've always been underestimated in my life by others. Always. Doesn't matter what it is. Everyone's just underestimated my ability to do things. So my why and why I get up in the morning is I hate the idea that people underestimate my ability to make an agency work. That is my why. More recently, since I've had kids, my why is obviously I don't want my kids to go through and have the life that I had, which was living in poverty. You know, my mum was a gambling addict, also Filipino, so she didn't really have a job, lived off welfare, and you know, we never went without food, but definitely went without, you know, new shoes and stuff like that. I had holes in my shoes and stuff, and part of the reason I got picked on. So I've sort of said to myself, I never want my kids to live that life. So when I get up, when I don't feel like doing anything, I go, am I just fulfilling and reinforcing that I should be underestimated because I'm not willing to put in the effort? And B, it's like, if I don't get the work done, I feel guilty that I'm moving closer. My kids are moving closer to the life that I had growing up and not the life that I want for them, which is a huge driver. Now, you may not have kids, you may not have that kind of motivation, but it has to be primal and visceral. You know, there's kids in the Philippines, right, that get up at 2 a.m. to go help work in a rice field, go and collect water for the family and run errands, and then go to school all day, get home, and then go out and work in the fields again till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night and go to bed at midnight and do it all again, get 3 hours sleep a day. You know, do you think they give a shit? Do you think they want to do that? No. It's their motivation is they don't want to starve to death and they don't want to die of thirst, right? That's what I mean by primal motivations. If you have a primal motivation driving you and pushing you forward, then you will get the stuff done. It's nothing about time hacks. It's nothing about efficiency. It comes down to discipline and having that primal motivation to go, yes, I've got to get this done. It's like if you hadn't eaten for 2 weeks, your primal motivation will be to eat. And you will do anything to do that. And you'll be very disciplined in your approach to finding food, right? So that motivation kind of creates discipline in a way too. Now let's talk about some specific tactics you can use to help keep yourself on track when you're feeling like you're getting sidetracked and distracted. I tend to focus on 4 things a day. So I have this thing called a tactical time blocker. It's made by Jesse Anderson. I've spoken about this a lot in other videos. And basically what I do is I focus on getting 4 things done a day, and that's it. 1 primary task that I actually want to do and 3 other subtasks. Each subtask takes about an hour and the problem takes about an hour and a half. Put them in my calendar and then I just work everything else around them. So when I'm working on one of those main tasks, I just focus on that and nothing else. When I'm working on one of those subtasks, I just focus on that and nothing else. Turn everything off, just focus on the task at hand and nothing else, because everything's gonna be done around that. I find that when you are getting distracted, it's because obviously a lack of discipline, firstly, but secondly, it's because you have no reason to get back on track, if that makes sense. So whatever you do, whatever you make, it needs to be something that you can look at and go, oh shit, I should be doing that, because it's not perfect. Like sometimes you get taken off track, sometimes you get distracted, but you need something visceral and you need something visual that you can go, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. I need to be back on track because I'm going to get no other time to do it. So the biggest problem a lot of you guys have is that you have too much time, right? But if you can press that time frame into like 4.5 hour block of working in individual hours, and you go, I'm not going to do anything any more on those projects except for what I do in those hours. It's amazing how much you get done in those times. So I literally will put music on. I play the same song every single time. I have like my work song and I play that every single time. That's when I know it's work mode. I remove everything else from my desktop on my laptop and I just focus on the task at hand and that's it. And I just work like a madman, because if you were in South Africa and the power in the day was only on from 8 p.m. till midnight every night, you were sure as shit would get everything you need done because you know that there's a finite start time and a finite finish time. So you need to kind of replicate that. That has been the single best thing I've done for getting work done without feeling guilty that I didn't get enough done, because 4 things a day works out to be 20 things a week, which works out to be 80 things a month, which works out to be 900 things a year. That's plenty. And then all your little bits and pieces, tasks like creating a YouTube video and all that, all the ancillary stuff can be done around that. If you don't get them done, it doesn't matter because you've achieved something. You've achieved those 4 things in a day. And that is super motivating. So hopefully that helps, Tom. Like I said, get that primal thing, get that thing that's going to drive you. And then that will go a long way to helping. All right, let's go on to the next question here.
Hey, good to meet. My name is Tabram Mahashra. I run an SMMA agency. We do Google ads for solar businesses, so people install solar, and we've been having issues with our outbounding. And I know this week's topic is mindset, and I feel like the issues with outboundings, or the issue with outbound, rather, so getting new clients is really affecting my mental, because we've been doing the outbounding for 3, 4, 5, 6 months now. We've tried Google scraping, we've tried a lot of the outbounding methods, and I just wanted to know, how do you, or at the beginning, how did you keep your wits about you? Like, I'm even thinking maybe we should change niches. How did you stay on track? Did you stay with the same niche? Did you switch? How did it affect your mindset? And how did you handle the pressure of, like, you're not getting any clients, you're spending money on emails, you're not getting any money in? Yeah, that's my question.
Great question. I love this question, and it ties a lot into the other ones. I think if I look back in time, let me explain how I went about it. I didn't niche down. I know a lot of you guys have stuck to a niche. I didn't necessarily niche down. I figured that the bigger my net, the more chance I have of collecting something, because my goal is not to set up a 7-figure agency out of the first day. My goal is to learn how to do this. So I figured that the more opportunities I've got to learn by just casting a wide net and working in a lot of different niches, the better it will be. What I'm telling my current coaching clients is that that's probably not the best approach either. Your best approach is to work with 5 or 6 sub niches within the niche, like a vertical, right? So let's say, for instance, you might work in landscape, like home services, right? So you might do garage doors, you might do retaining walls, but you're picking like sub niches. So you're not just doing landscaping because that's too big. You might do like garage doors, which is a part of doing doors, I suppose. Retaining walls, you might do paving, you might do pool fences, you might do, within solar, you might do generators. So they're like sub niches, right? So you do 5 or 6 sub niches within the niche. And then because you're doing that, you're spreading the risk across more services. But if you do get testimonials, they're going to be interchangeable, because it doesn't matter if you get a pool fencing testimonial. If someone's in garage doors, they're going to appreciate it because it's another trade services. And the ads that you do are going to be similar because it's in a similar vertical. So I found that that's the single best approach, because it kind of spreads your risk. Because when you put all your eggs in one basket, you can run into this issue where you have dry spells. And this is where you are now, right? Is you're just having a dry spell, and it can affect your motivation because it's like you have nothing else to focus on, right? So by flicking out to like 5 or 6 niches that are like sub niches that are a little bit smaller, if one's not working, you can kind of focus your energy and tension on another one. And it's not really niche hopping. It's kind of just like working within the circle that you build for yourself. In regards to where you are now, when you're hit a dry spell, or you're not feeling motivated, or you're just feeling a bit disheartened about what you're doing, this has always served me very well. I used to play poker professionally. I know I don't look like it. I used to play poker professionally for about 18 months. And I was online, and I used to go through dry spells that lasted 500 games, 600 games, costing me tens of thousands of dollars. I think the longest dry spell I had cost me $42,000, right? What you get used to in poker, and it's exactly the same as what we're doing here, is you have a thing called positive expectation, right? So positive expectation is how casinos make billions of dollars. every hand that you play in poker has an expectation that starts at 0, and then your activities and your actions of your opponents decide whether you have a negative expectation or a positive expectation relative to the players you're playing. So as long as the actions you take create a positive expectation, eventually you'll make money regardless of the ebbs and flows, right? Now, how does that translate to what we do in marketing? Well, if you're doing activities that have a positive expectation, net positive expectation on your livelihood, so like what I'm essentially saying is you're doing the right things, you're sending the outbounds, you're being disciplined, getting the work done, you're doing all that, then eventually you'll get a positive expectation. Like it's just mathematically certain. It's when you're doing things that don't have a positive expectation that can really start to like mess with that. So I would be like, if I was in your situation and you're doing things, I'm tipping that you may be flicking between strategies too early, because sometimes things take time, especially when it comes to outreach. Sometimes things take time. And what I found is that people are this close to making it work, and then they switch strategies and they change what they do. All I can say is what keeps me motivated when I have a dry spell is that positive expectation. I know that even when the day's been shit or I've had a dry spell in the agency, that if we just keep doing the work that has a positive expectation, eventually it will come to fruition. I know that doesn't feed the bulldog, and that is a hardcore mindset thing, because it's pretty hard to think like that when you're right in the thick of not getting clients. But I think it does help by having a few niches too, because then you're not just like every day focusing on a pit of despair. You've got like other pits that maybe not as deep, that you can start digging those holes, So hopefully that helps. That's what I did, and it seems to work. It seems to have worked pretty well for me. All right, let's go to the last question here, which is this one.
Hello, Jimmy. My question to you is, how did you deal with shiny object syndrome? I don't know if you've had one. I guess you had, because every entrepreneur at some point in their life has that shiny object syndrome. So my question to you is, how do you deal with shiny object syndromes, especially in today's day and age, where you open social media and you get bombarded with these other internet gurus trying to sell you something, and them saying this is new untapped business model that you should try, and them also bashing other business models and telling how they don't work anymore because they're outdated and you missed your opportunity and your chance. So yeah, that's my question to you.
Rocco, this is a fantastic question. I really like this one because it's something I see a lot, and I just have a different perspective on shiny objects. So yeah, of course, over the last 8.5, 9 years, I've had plenty of shiny objects pop up. And some of them have been pretty awesome. But as you would have seen, I've stuck to building a marketing agency for almost a decade now, with pretty much not doing anything else until recently. And let me explain to you why shiny objects one of the worst, like shiny objecting into something else is one of the worst things you can do. The thing is, over the years of running my agency, yeah, the shiny objects have popped up, but my thought process and what stopped me from moving into other things is that the grass is not always greener on the other side, right? You've learned a set of skills. It makes more sense to stick and execute on those skills than it does to learn new skills every single time, right? Like it's better to be a master craftsman, woodmaker, stonemason than it is to like go, oh, there's plastic now, I'm going to go and start making things out of plastics. Like stick to what you know, stick to what works, right? The way you accumulate that knowledge is just over time. So I've just sort of always gone, is it like, what's the best thing I can do in this situation? Is it better to go and learn something else from scratch, or stick to what I know, stick to what's worked, stick to what I think is the path, right? So that's always the first thing I've always sort of done, is like my check. Now, there's been some things where I'm going, oh, wow, this is like aligns with what I'm doing a little bit. And this could be a really good opportunity for me. And this is just something that you only learn after it's happened to you. So like I said, I've been doing this for a very long time. And because of that, a lot of opportunities have popped up in this space that I wouldn't have gotten if I hadn't stayed in, right? So look at Charlie Morgan and Easy Growth, for instance, right? In coaching over there. Do you think if I hadn't been doing SMA and running my agency for as long as I had, that Charlie would trust me to coach like thousands of you guys at Easy Grow? No. That opportunity only arose because I stuck to one thing and I ignored the shiny objects. There's opportunity cost to switching into other things and into other ways of making money. There's opportunity costs, and that is one of them. As you build authority and as you build experience in a space, you get afforded opportunities that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't get that experience. Now, it doesn't matter what you do. It's the same in every niche. Like if you're doing drop shipping and you've been doing drop shipping for 10 years, you're going to get opportunities that you wouldn't get if you had switched every year, because it's much better to have a lot of experience in one area and a lot of time and saddle in one area than have a year in 10 different areas. You know what I mean? Like if I had just tried 8 different things every year, do you think I'd be coaching over at Easy Grow right now? Do you think I'd have this YouTube channel? Do you think any of you guys would listen to me? Probably not. You're listening to me because I've stuck to one thing. I've learned a lot about it. And I've been in the trenches, and you know that, wow, if this guy stuck to it for 8.5 years, he must know what he's talking about. That's the thing with shiny objects. You've got to really consider. And it also comes down, and I think also finally it comes down to a generational thing, right? There's a lot of young males in this space that are just trying to get the bag as quick as possible, not realizing that life is long. You've got a long time to live. Yes, it'd be sick to be driving around in a Bugatti at 23 years old. But is that worth risking the opportunities that you could get by staying in one spot for a long time just to potentially get the chance of earning money maybe quicker? Because none of these shiny objects are set in stone. You're not going to switch to one thing and it's going to be the thing that makes you money. If anything, you could switch to one thing and you could be worse off than you were before by just sticking to the thing you're doing. So I really think people need to think about that before they switch, is that the grass is not always greener. There's an opportunity cost by switching that you lose out on opportunities as you get more experience and time in saddle. And nothing's set in stone. It may set you back, and the least risky path is just sticking to what you're doing. That's how I've always justified it, because I probably had 60 opportunities over the years to 50, 60 opportunities to switch into other stuff. And I've always just done that. And shit, my life's not bad, right? And that's because of running a marketing agency. So yeah, look, I've probably missed out on money in my life, but who cares? I've made enough now. I'm making enough. It doesn't matter. So like, really, is it a shiny object if the object that I'm polishing at the moment will eventually shine? That's the way I look at it. So hopefully that helps. Guys, that's it. That's it for the questions this week. Like I said, if you want your question answered, make sure to join the school group and look for the pin post. Send me your question and I'll answer it in the next Q&A if it's one of the lucky ones. And guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. That should be a given. Subscribe. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love just giving advice. I love just helping people, and this is a good outlet to be able to do that. So thanks so much, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.